Studio has just loaded a new video talking about Reason 13 and the new browser features. So I'm going to watch it and give my thoughts and opinions on it and compare it to what I said previously. Let's see what it's all about. Oh yes, let's watch it. I will be editing the video, or editing their video, cutting out bits. You can go and watch the full video, link in the description.
Let's take a look at the new workflow in Reason 13, because I want to help get you up to speed on the new ways that we move around in Reason, both in the browser, which is true if you're using Reason as a DAW, or in your own DAW with the Reason Rack plugin. And then I'll show you some of the new DAW-specific changes and features that will soon feel second nature to us all. The first thing you might notice about Reason 13 if you're a longtime Reason user is that the device palette still lives on the left side of the Reason window, but it's no longer paired with the other factory sound bank, sound packs, shortcuts, and so on. This has all been moved.
Okay, so we can still drag and drop the devices then. That's okay, that's good. Let's continue.
Into Reason's new browser, which I'll get to next. But if I simply wanted to load a Reason device into the rack, perhaps to add it underneath another device already in the rack, I can go here to choose from Instruments, Effects, Utilities, and Players. Or if I toggle all these categories off, I'll just have a list of all devices.
They should do another category for custom combinators. And where are the plugins? Oh, plugins come in underneath with all the rest of the Reason devices. The Reason devices, and then you have the plugins underneath the Reason devices. That's all right. But I would like to see a custom tab, or a tab for custom combinators. You know, people have spent a lot of effort making combinator 2s, and they look like actual devices the way they're designed, and you know, put a lot of effort into them. And I want to be able to click and drag those like they're devices, the same as click and drag here.
Stood alongside Players, Effects, and Utilities. Click into the search field or press Shift-Command-F and start typing to filter the device list. I can search for a device name like Ripley, or I can search for categories of devices like Delay. But also, if I want to browse device categories, I can expand the list and filter my devices to just EQ or just filters. Maybe I want to see guitar amps.
Okay, that is a bit of an improvement, because if you look at Reason 12, when you look at all the devices, if you've got those of VSTs as well, you just end up with like all the Reason devices, all your REs, and all the VSTs, all in a massive long line going down, 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 down. Slightly annoying. So this is a bit better, I suppose.
And while I could use the device palette to drag an instrument into the rack and then browse for patches on that device, I prefer to press Command-I, Control-I on Windows to create a new instrument. Key kind of person, clicking Add Device in the rack and choosing Instrument. Doing this brings up Reason's new browser, and right away I'm browsing all instrument patches in all locations. I click a patch, and you can see it loading behind the browser into my rack. And no matter what instrument that patch is for. So okay,
so the browser is floating me, because I like to play around with the knobs and sliders and be able to see what I'm doing with that, rather than having a floating window blocking all the devices.
Click on a Thor patch, and it switches to Thor. This means I can browse and audition patches right from the browser. Let's understand how to drill down to a more focused search. First, let's talk about all locations. All locations represents all the known locations where Reason can find device patches and sounds. But all locations also includes installed sound packs.
So they've removed all the old logos and images for sound packs, because maybe it looks more smart and more unified, being all black like that. Or it just saves time, so the browser doesn't have to go and search for all the separate images that go with the folders and the different images they have fill logos. So that's all gone by the looks of it.
The user library is a new location on your local drive that is the default location you'll see when saving patches in Reason. Storing things here will make them always available to Reason's browser. In fact, I've moved.
I already do that anyway. I already have all the things I'm using in a folder and then load it from there. It's just easier to find. So
across other various random disks over the years into my user library, so that they're now centrally located and searchable alongside everything else. Do I want to show patches with bass in the name? Yeah, I want a fat bass. Here I'll click the tag called fat to restrict to patches that have been tagged at.
I already do a similar thing already So all my files, my own personal samples I make, and sounds and stems and projects all have a code that I use. So a hip hop chill out beat would be, you know, HH or HH and then C and something like that, you know. Or drum and bass would be DB and then ambient drum and bass DBA. And so when I go into Windows search and search DBA, then all those files that are linked with that will come up straight away. It's just easier to find and just do. So it appears that they're utilizing the same functions or slightly better functions than Windows Explorer search functions.
Clicking OK commits my choice into the rack. If I also click the reverb button, now I'll filter for any effects whose category is delay or reverb. I'll see both matches in my results. Each tag further narrows the results by showing the patches that have been tagged as glitchy, and lo-fi, and dark. Now I've filtered thousands of options down to just a handful. Now there's a couple of browser behaviors and tips it's worth mentioning.
I can see why they've made the browser sort of a floating browser and take prominence within the window or in the Reason window there, because there wasn't enough space to have where it is on the left there. You wouldn't really have enough space unless you dragged the browser window all the way over with the round sort of tab thing they have. So I can see why they've done that, but I've still got the option for it to appear within the rack.
Warm, fat basses are still showing. If I press escape and go back to browse the effect patch we added, you'll see we're still filtering for dark, lo-fi, glitchy effects that are either a reverb or a delay. From the device palette and click the Browse Patch button or press Command or Control B, there are no filters or tags associated with my patch yet, but the browser does automatically filter to just the patches with this device.
It's quite a significant change, isn't it, really, to this browser? So some people are going to be a bit lost as they're trying to get used to how to use this. Might have to watch this video about 4 times. Now, I have no real reason to upgrade to Reason 13. I don't really need to. I mean, in fact, I can make music with Reason 4 still, because I like its simplicity, basic, it's fast, and I know how to use it. At the back of my hand, all the devices on there. Whereas Reason 12, there's lots of things in there that I never even got around to using, you know. I mean, I thought I'd actually make some custom combinator 2s, but I never actually got around to doing that, even though I've got the graphic design skills to actually make some pretty decent combinators. Just haven't got around to it. Same as a lot of the devices, I never really tweak them. I never really play around with the functions very much. I don't do much sound design. But yeah, maybe I'll do another video of all the features I don't even use.
Of course, sometimes I'm not searching for or loading device patches. Sometimes I'm looking for samples to load into a drum machine or a sampler.
All the sounds they're using is coming from Reason's own sounds. Either they're stock sounds from the Reason Factory Sound Bank, or their Reason Plus sound packs. Maybe we'll get into how we're going to tag, you know, third-party sound banks. You know, if you've got loads of splice samples or cymatics audio samples, end up with a lot of samples and sounds that you use that are not from Reason. I want to be able to tag my own sounds as well, the ones I make.
You'll also notice now that clicking anything in the browser is not loading it into the rack behind the browser like it was before when we were adding instruments and effects. That's because we haven't yet actually specified our intent to add anything to the rack in the same way that we do when we specifically click Add Instrument or Add Effect to open the browser.
I would like it to actually be able to play while I'm doing my thing and have the sounds play in tempo and possibly in key if we want it to, like I've seen on other DAWs or for, you know, VSTs. You know, you click it, you're looking through it, you're playing it at the same time in tempo, like you do with Splice or other services, like I say. I don't see that happening here at the moment.
Clicking the Create button, I'm going to drag this patch into my rack, and you'll see the browser collapses temporarily so that I can place this device in the rack, and now I'm still browsing. And I can still interact with the rack, so I can click run on this.
Now you can see that the browser is now within the rack. See that? So it does have the option to have it within the rack space, or it does have it in within the rack space sometimes. And he's got the hand symbol there, look. So you can move it to the position you want to move it to. So that could be useful. So maybe has he resized it, or does it do automatically make it in the same space as the rack? But it looks like you can move the browser out of the way with the hand symbol there and continue touching the knobs behind as you want. So that's not bad. You've got a nice, decent sized screen. That's going to be fine.
To the polytone patch, like assigning the morph control to the global LFO for an auto-evolving.
Okay, so you can move it around and still touch the rack. So that's good. So I think that resolves my issue I had. It's not going to be blocking the device when you want to play around with the knobs and play around with the settings while still having the browser open, looking for patches and stuff like that.
But then jumping right back here to my browser, where I can click on effects patches, maybe distortion, and drag and drop a pulverizer patch underneath polytone. When I'm done, I click close on the browser, and we've built a whole signal chain.
The way the browser can move and stay open and be moved out of the way of the rack device and be moved wherever you want it to do on the screen you're on, or you could drag it over to a second screen if you want to. That's all good stuff. So that gets a win from me.
What about your own custom patch creations? How does tagging work with those? However, I can choose edit category.
Should be noted that it appears that all the search function on the browser is focused on, Reason presets, and I don't think it includes, actual sound samples or audio library style sample search.
So this is the distortion. It's dirty, it's distorted, and it's warm sounding. I'll click save. Distort.
Although you could just load your samples up, you could load your samples. Might take a bit of time, but you could load your samples up into Mimic or whatever, or load the file, the folder connected to Mimic. So when you load the folder, so you put all your sounds you want, or sound location, whatever, into a folder outside of Reason, and then go in, use the sound, and then you can still click and browse through all those sounds.
Reason library, rack extensions, and I look at the Korg Mono Poly folder. In the base folder, I could select all of these patches, right-click any one of them, and edit categories and tags. These are all bases, they're synths, and since they're made using the Korg Mono Poly, I can reliably tag them as fat and analog sounding. Now those Mono Poly patches...
Korg Mono Poly. I've got the Behringer Mono Poly over there. Interesting.
If you're somebody who has a large collection of custom sample loops and one-shots, you'll appreciate being able to do this as well on audio content like folders of bass drums and snare drums. And if you do have large collections like this that you like to keep organized in your own way, then I want to talk to you about the browser shortcuts and favorites. I've got a shortcut to the 2024 music projects I've got in the works, either dragging that folder itself in for a shortcut location, or if I wanted to, I could add a Reason file shortcut here for quick access.
This is all pretty good search-wise for sounds. To make it better, they can add a tempo match and key match, and then you can click on, and as you're clicking on the sounds you want to listen to, have it play within your project. A bit like Splice service. That would be kind of cool. But this is not bad. I quite like this browser they're showing so far. It's all getting ticks from me.
Favorites is where I can curate my go-to samples and patches that I discover along the way. I've got one that I made specifically for kick drums, and another one called Song Starters that includes some inspiring patches I've found that get me making music quickly, and choose the favorites list that I'd like to add it to. Okay, I think that's most of what's new in the browser. Users, there's a whole other set of updates for Reason's workflow that we need to cover, and that's the changes to Reason's sequencer. Starting from...
And we'll save that for another video. Well then, what do you think about the Reason's new browser? I actually quite like it. It's resolved a lot of the questions I asked and thought, and that it needed, like sitting within the rack space or be able to move around out of the way of the device. Being able to move it out of the way of your devices and out of the way of the rack and still have it open and browse patches and still tweak the knobs and sliders and edit your devices while the browser is still open. So yeah, pretty good. I like the tag features, it's pretty good. It's kind of similar to what I do already. And because I already do that already, like tag my sounds and like the, you know, hip hop's HH, and then if it's chill out, it's HHC, or if it's drum bass that I'm doing and it's liquid drum bass, DB, and then sort of C for chill out, and then U for uplifting, just 2 letters to signify what it means. So maybe I'll do like a dark hip hop beat, so I'll tag that HH. D, I'll just sort of tag it with a 3 or 4 letter code. So I'll be able to integrate that with this pretty fast by the looks of it.